I was once driving someone who was in so much pain that they were given morphine while in the back of an ambulance I was driving, and that felt like a World War II movie. Like, when do you see someone get morphine, you know? And there was another one where a person flipped a car, and that was pretty dicey, and the car was actually stolen. So there were a bunch of police in an ambulance, and he was handcuffed to a stretcher as I drove him to a hospital. And it's it's a wild gig. Most of them though
you just pull over, stop the car. He deserves to die.
I mean, it was the way. I have to keep my mouth shut on that, but I was not saying things like that. But I did hear a couple comments from that along those lines from some of maybe the more police involvement of people just being like, this guy, like, I mean, this guy. It was hard to find sympathy for the person who stole a car and caused this issue, but I always am just psyched. I haven't seen any like blood, or I've seen a few tense things, but nothing too bad. Nothing too bad in my time as an ambulance driver.
Wow. So is this actually a means of wanting to help people, or just an excuse to blow through red lights?
It's I would say it's half and half, to be honest. It's like
it's gotta be pretty thrilling.
It's pretty cool to throw the siren on or blast the air horn, you know? I had somebody, my most recent call, it was the morphine call, and I was pulling up to a red light, and this person pulled out of a parking spot and stopped in front of me and then was waiting at the red light. And the paramedic on board was like, "Do you have your lights on?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Some idiots in front of me, though, and just stopped at the light. And they're like, "Blast them with the horn." So it was just like, and feels pretty good. Feels pretty good, but you know, most of it is it's a way to help people, and I know you can empathize with this as well, where I'm just like, I have a son, and you know, we live in a world that just feels so harsh all the time, and where so many people feel like they're just like looking for ways to take each other down or look out for themselves. So there's definitely also part of me that's like, I think it's a cool example to set for my son of like, no, you're in a family where like every once in a while a pager goes off and your dad has to run out the door to help somebody. Like, I think that's a cool tone to set about how he needs to think of the world. So sorry for that completely schmaltzy answer.
No, are you kidding me? That you're absolutely right. He'll look back on that and be like, holy shit, yeah, my dad was a low-key badass.
Yeah,
and also when he gets older, that's a hell of a way to get out of helping him with his homework too.
I mean, you have no idea. There's been times where I'm doing dishes and the pager goes off, and I'm like, I get a text message that says there's like a whole app. So this pager, I can show you. This is the pager. So this explodes with sound. There's no way you're sleeping through this thing. Then there's also an app. So my phone starts making crazy noise too. They do everything they can to make sure you get woken up if you're asleep. And then the app gives you like the 911 dispatchers punching in what's going on. So it's usually right out of the gate. It's like a 1-sentence description. So there have been times where I'm doing dishes and it'll be like, oh, fuck yeah, someone's having a stroke. Let's go. I don't have to do dishes anymore. And then you catch yourself saying something like that and going like, oh, wait, it's about helping this other person. Let's chill out with that. Let's chill out a little bit with that.
I think I'm most blown away by the fact that you're living in the burbs. You own a house now. You have a yard too, right?
Yeah. I love my yard.
And you're all in the lawn care, right?
Yeah.
But and your son is 3 now?
3.5, yeah.
3.5. And you're still looking for shit to do in the middle of the day. Whereas I am scheduling naps at every turn still.
Right. And do you have 2 kids now or just one still?
Still just one. He's 7.
And you're still getting away with naps? Or you're scheduling naps for you?
Me. Yeah.
Oh,
for me.
Yeah.
For me.
Dude, my son is just at the point where he's like, I don't feel like taking a nap. And we can convince him most days, but he's like verbally telling us, I don't want to nap anymore. It's like, I've heard these go away. I thought we'd get another year or so. That's going to be a bummer when he stops napping.
Oh yeah, it's tough. I mean, I was wrestling my kid down for naps till he couldn't stand it anymore, just because I needed them, you know?
Yeah. There's
been guys of he needs it, you know. You need your sleep, buddy. You need your sleep. I think one time I slipped up. I was like, I need some fucking sleep. And he's like,
A few days ago, I was like cuddling him, trying to get him to fall asleep, and I fell asleep and woke up, and he was not asleep. And I was like, this is a weird. I hope he doesn't remember this. The time my father cradled me and fell asleep while I awkwardly just looked at his face from 1.5 inches away.
Yeah, I know. I'm worried that my son's biggest memories of me are going to be like, I hit a wall at like 4 or 5 o'clock every day. And like, we'll be like, I'll finish helping him with his homework. We'll be playing some video games or something. And I'll be like, hey buddy, you mind if I just close my eyes for like 10 minutes? And he's like, yeah, no problem. And I'll just kind of like flop over on the couch. And then an hour later I wake up and he's just kind of sitting there watching. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, this is not a good look.
See, the ambulance thing, I'm like, driving the ambulance, I feel a little cheesy doing it, but it's a better example to set for him than him, like, seeing me, like, what comedians have talked shit about me? Or, like, what are people saying about me on Reddit? Which is, you know, a little bit more of who I used to be, of, like, what did Chappelle say now? Like, there's all these aspects of our life where it's just, like, ultimately, who cares? And I don't want him to see me caught up in that. I'd rather see him see me driving an ambulance around our small town. Maybe he thinks it's cool. He legit thinks it's cool, and I feel good about that.
Oh yeah, dude. They love that shit. I don't know if I told you this. When my son was 2.5, my wife had him at the park. I was packing up to go do a gig upstate. I got a phone call from her, and I immediately knew. You know, sometimes you get a call and just before you answer it, you know it's bad news. You just kind of have a premonition. Yeah. And I just knew something was up. And she answers, and I answer the phone, and I hear him screaming in the background. And she goes, Doug, there's been an accident. Mason stabbed himself in the eye with a stick. I'm running to the hospital as we speak. Meet me there. And I was like, okay. And I chucked the phone across the room, and I just started sprinting to Methodist Hospital, which thankfully is like 10 blocks away from my apartment. But yeah, he was running down a hill with his friends. There was like a group of 3 of them. They were all playing with sticks. They all ran down this same hill. They all fell at the bottom of the hill, but he was the only one whose stick went in his eye.
Oh my goodness.
I sprint to the hospital, and I show up, and, you know, his eyes, I can't really see what's been done, you know, but there's blood and it's swollen. And they did not have a pediatric unit there that was capable of dealing with that sort of injury. So they had to send an ambulance from Columbia Presbyterian to Methodist Hospital in Park Slope. So you had to wait for like 40 minutes for this ambulance. And then we had to hop in. I was on a gurney with him on my lap, just hurtling up the West Side Highway, and he was having the fucking time of his life. You would never know that anything bad happened to him. He was like, this is awesome. We get to the hospital, like, all right, buddy, we got to get out. He's like, aw, man, can't we stay in a little longer? And I was like, no, buddy, you need urgent care. He's like, can we do it again tomorrow? Like, it was one of the best days. He had an ambulance ride, and then he went home with an eye patch. He's fine, by the way. Like,
good. Everything turned out okay?
In suspense here. Yeah.
Good.
But between the ambulance ride and the eye patch, it was one of the best moments of his life.
That's amazing. And how much did that cost you?
In terms of years off my life, probably 10.
Right. I mean, like when he's like, can we do that again tomorrow? And you're like, dude, if we didn't have insurance, that would have cost $40,000 for that ambulance ride.
Exactly. Yeah. It's nuts.
I had one. My son has had stitches once, and I was out of town. And the really grim part is I was FaceTiming them to say goodnight. I was out of town working, and he got really excited, and he was trying to show off and like jump around. My wife was visiting some friends, and their house wasn't baby proofed, and he started like jumping off of something, and I was just like, oh, here he, and he just caught his head on the side of the table that the iPad was on. So I just saw my kid hurtling forward. I heard my wife screaming, and then he just popped up, and he looked like, you know, he looked like Stone Cold Steve Austin wearing the crimson mask. You know, I was like, oh, it was bad. It was bad to witness it from afar and just realize like I'm thousands of miles away. There's nothing I can do to help, and I'm watching it in real time on a video feed. It was not good.
Oh my God.